Growing up, I used to love honey because of its uh, huge consistency and the sweetness. And then I realized that I was only eating sugar with added little jaggery and some chemicals, which was supposed to pass as honey because honey is costly, and if you can be fooled to eat sugar instead, then you can make a lot of money that way. Uh, but then eventually I tasted the real honey, and it was mind blowing, amazing, and it was very good. And then you realize that honeybee makes honey basically for themselves, and it's in excess, and we can just go and take it, and then we sell it and we consume it, and it's so much beneficial for us, and it's a nice thing. But to make honeys need to do some hardcore work. They need to go to thousands of flowers to collect the nectar and eat it and process it and digest it, and then make the honey. And depending upon the flowers and the area, the warmth, and all the other different things, honeys can taste differently. And it's a hard work. You go to a single honey can go to so many flowers, and then to make the honeys you required in such quantities takes a massive amount of work and time. And they do it because they need to store food for the times, hard times that might come, and that's a beautiful thing. But what do you do after making so much honey? You need to store it. So they make honeycomb, and they make honeycomb with the help of wax. And basically they imagine your surface on your ground. They divide it with the help of wax, and between them they store the honeys. And we have found that honey is stored honey bees store honey in the wax chamber by making wax divisions in the form of an hexagon, six-sided hexagon. And in mathematics it was often called the honeycomb conjecture. And it was a conjecture because earlier it was not proven that hexagon is the most efficient way to divide a plane and store honey. And after a lot of time in 1999, mathematician proved that hexagon is the most efficient space for storing something in a plane surface by dividing it into equal spaces. And that was really amazing, and the proof is quite long, and it involves assuming real spaces and bounded nature of the numbers and so on and so forth. Hello Matthew, welcome to the stream. And but to understand it is very simple actually. Now imagine a plane surface, and if you put uh, divisions of square of equal sizes on the plane, then square has four sides. Okay, so it means it will share the back. If you put a square in the middle of a plane surface, then it will share the walls with four other squares. So that way they have to make that much less walls for other four squares adjoining to it. Okay, so that way their hard work is not wasted. And if you consider a triangle with three sides, then if you construct a triangle in the center, then each side share with another triangle, so they save their time that way. And so you see the point where I'm going. So triangle only three sides are sharing, square four sides. Hexagon, the six sides of an hexagon share with six different hexagons, and that much less work is needed by honeys. And therefore hexagon is the most efficient way. And honeybees have been doing it naturally without the uh, without the proof for mathematicians really, and it was their intuition, and they did it for so many years, and we were baffled. But the question then arises, why only remain at six sides? You can just make a shape with eight sides, and then the bees would have to make uh, less eight it will share with eight different uh, polygons, and it will share so much wax. But then there is a problem. After above 6, if you go, thing is you can't fill in the whole polygon of a plane equally, and even if you try, there will be some gaps in between, and there will be a wastage of space, and honeybees could not afford that. So if you go low, triangle, square, then it is less efficient, and if you go above the hexagon, then it is really wastage of time. So that's why honeycombs are hexagon in nature, and it is the most efficient way to use less number of wax and store huge quantities of honeys, which we eventually take it up for ourselves because it's tasty and amazing. So intuitively, we also knew that hexagon is the most efficient thing to do by honeys, and we should also do the same thing if you are building for a similar structure. Like for example, if you need to store grains in a plain area, you divide it in hexagon to have the least number of walls and most numbers of capacity, and that is the intuitive thing to do. But mathematics does not work on intuition. From our intuition, we can only call it a conjecture. That's why this was originally called honeycomb conjecture. Unless and until we prove something, we cannot call it a proof, a definitive thing. And while many things in mathematician might seem like it is a true thing, and there is no other way around it, and but we would still call it a conjecture. For example, let's talk about another conjecture, Collard's conjecture. It's a very famous and very silly conjecture. It's simple. You take any number, you multiply by 3, and you add. If it's an even number, you divide it by 2. If it's an odd number, you multiply by 3 and you add 1. And this way you can form a chain and you can keep doing it. And with the help of computers, we have analyzed millions and millions of numbers, and they all seem to follow the Collard's conjecture. But still, we are not calling it a proof because we have not solved it for all the numbers, and we cannot solve it for all the numbers by computers, because no matter how many numbers you solve it for, maybe a billion numbers, there might be a billion number after a billion numbers who might not follow the Collard's conjecture. So therefore, whenever there is a conjecture, it remains a conjecture unless and until we prove it for the every possibility. And you can only do that not by brute force. You cannot do it by brute force. You can just put in the numbers and try and test it for 1,000 times. You can't do it in mathematics. What you have to do, you have to have some kind of formula, some kind of assumption, or some kind of rule which applies to everything, and you realize that it is not working and it only works for a specific thing. And that's how the proof of why hexagon is the best shape for efficiency, using the less number of wax and the most number of honeys, was derived by making a bounded nature of the space and the sides of polygons, and everything falls apart because anything more than 6 sides will leave gaps, and then for it will be inefficient, and anything less than 6 will be using more number of wax, so that it will not be good enough. So that's why honeybees use hexagon shapes, and it is marvelous to think about it that we humans took a lot of time. It was only proven in 1999, so it was like maybe more than 200-300 of brilliant mathematicians, and it took us so long to prove that hexagon is indeed the best efficient and the best way for honeybees to store the honey, and for also us, if you think about it. And it's a problem we solved, but it was only solved like 26 years ago, and honeys have been doing it for like, I don't know, millions of years. So to think of it, there's one analogy here that we don't give enough credit for the other living creatures. We somehow think that we are above them and we have the intelligence, we have a kind of a superiority complex because we do so many things and we essentially rule the world. But we sometimes forget that many of the things that come intuitively to other creatures, or maybe they have some kind of ability which we don't have. For example, lizard or an octopus, they can uh, outgrow their limbs if it is even cut. And that is such a fascinating thing, because we can't do it. We can heal our body here and there, Hannah, but to get a new limb is something out of a sci-fi movie. So that's a brilliant way to look at the nature. And when you think about it, most of the things which we have in ourselves, in practicality, we have taken inspiration from nature. And I suddenly remember this one thing, the Japan's bullet train. It was a high speed train, and Japan did it going at 500 kilometers per hour. It's amazing speed. But whenever it entered the tunnel, it kind of made so much noise that it was jarring, and probably it could shatter glasses. So that was a problem, and it was a difficult problem to solve. And what they did, they saw creatures, birds, or who could fly at a very high speed, and took inspiration from that and made the uh, kind of the nose of the train in such a way that it resembled the bird, and it reduced the noise. So we always keep taking inspiration from nature, and perhaps you can even say that nature is even one step ahead from us, and all we do is we try to understand it and take it one step at a time, and we are still learning. And that's about it about the honeycomb conjecture. But what we can take from this is two things, that you might ask, what is the use of it? Like, why go to such lengths to prove something which we intuitively know, and honey bees are already doing that? So what's the use for it? And that's a good argument to make. But in mathematics, when you prove something, you prove it for 100%, and because of that proof, something else unlocks. And because you never know what it will unlock, because you will not make the connection, someone else will do, and it builds upon the earlier proof. And because of that, we can progress in mathematics. And the beauty of mathematics is that we don't even know what the application will be. Prime number, such a weird thing, weird concept, and we are breaking mathematicians, we breaking their head for so long, and we got cryptography out of it. So it's a fascinating thing. Mathematics is kind of an abstract thing. It's there, it's not there, and you're solving for something, and you don't know what will be the real users in the next immediate next time. No one knows, but that's how mathematics is, and that's what it should be. So next time you see a honeycomb, that will be rather difficult. Next time when you consume honey, remember that honeybees have gone to such a great length to make that honey for you. Thousands of flowers, and each honey from different region will taste differently because of the flowers. And it was beautifully stored in a beautifully constructed honeycomb with a wax, okay, perfect structure, and they all sacrifice it for it. And perhaps some honeybees dies in the process also, so that you could get a sweet taste of honey. So next time you're consuming honey, be grateful, be thankful, and somewhere along the line, you can always think about the maths behind all of this and how it has shaped the things. So growing up, you must have think, what is the use of this mathematics, and is there even use of mathematics in the real world? And perhaps the real question is, everything is connected by maths. We just have to discover it, invent it, or put it in the formulas to understand it better, and that's it. Or perhaps you can just look at the nature and see all the different shapes, size, and geometry behind all of this, and you would see that maths is everywhere. That's it, guys. It was a fun, lovely chat. See you guys next time, and have a blast.